Hello and welcome to Physical Therapy, a movie podcast. We're here every week talking movies largely inspired by the world of physical media, which still exists. Some would say that this industry is at its height.
Mainly due to Kurt and I doing all the legwork.
Spending all the monies.
Yeah.
My name is Kurt.
And I am Sam.
We're also joined by our beautiful, perfect, fantastic, talented,
but kind of a square.
Your words, not mine, producer Kimberly Wilming.
Hello.
Hello, Kim.
I'm in the dark, literally, right now.
We have a string of Christmas lights in our little under the stairs wine cellar Blu-ray closet podcast studio hole, and those Christmas lights just died, so Kim is literally sitting in the dark right now. And
which is kind of fitting for this episode, I feel.
Yeah, should we
all sit in the dark?
Everybody turn off all your lights. For people who have listened to this show before, you know that we are all fans of horror movies. But for the month of October, leading up until Halloween, we're doing some spooky themed episodes. Today marks our first one after Bound with Bobby last week. And Kurt, what is the theme for this week's episode?
Today we're going to be talking all about the brand new Second Sight 4K release of 1986's The Hitcher.
Ooh.
And I think we'll just sort of shoot the shit a little bit about road movies, thrillers, to be more specific.
Let's talk about some of our favorites with that.
Before we dive in, Sam, any movies this week? Anything you saw?
I was able to catch a 30th anniversary screening of Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction.
Whoa.
The Hollywood Theater had a brand new 35 millimeter print, and I saw that last Thursday. It looked incredible. The print itself was awesome, and I'm not sure I'd ever seen that movie on the big screen.
I don't know if I've ever seen it on the big screen either, and that surprises me. It's one of my all-time favorites. A very special movie to me.
You know, and it had been a minute since I'd seen it in general, and here's a hot take. It's just a really good movie.
It's fucking great.
It's really just one of the best. It played awesome on the big screen. I'd been wanting to watch it, so when they announced the screening, I got pretty excited for it. Was able to go with a couple friends and coworkers, some of which who hadn't seen it, so that was fun to be able to experience it with them for the first time.
That's awesome.
That's insane. That's great. It's just one of the best LA movies.
Really, it is. It's so good. And I think there's just small, kind of sometimes just very subtle details that I pick up, you know, every time I watch it. It's always slightly new or different. What a cool movie to have in our lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that it's his best movie?
Yes. I think there are certain scenes in other movies that are like maybe better directed.
But as a whole, yeah.
Yeah, as a whole, I really think that this is his, it's kind of maybe not the greatest to say his peak just because it's his second movie, but it's start to finish, it's incredible. What about you?
It's just, so confident. It's amazing that he had the stones, that early.
Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah. I mean, I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is really good and
I agree.
Made by a much more mature person, I guess, or wiser person.
I kind of feel that way about Inglourious Bastards as well, honestly.
It's just his late stage stuff is really interesting. I feel that way about PTA too. It's they came out of the gate so talented and proved it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was sort of once that was over, it was almost more interesting to see what they were interested in on a quieter level, if you will.
Have you seen any of the behind the scenes pics from PTA's new movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I saw a bunch on Reddit the other day. Cannot wait.
I am losing my mind. The rumor is that it's Vineland, the Thomas Pynchon book.
Oh, I don't know that book at all.
I just picked it up. I don't know it either, but he's returning to the Pynchon world, which is cool.
Yeah.
This week, my friend Eric came over and we watched Exorcist 3 on 4K from Shout Factory. I had never seen this movie. I had picked up the 4K. I've had it for a while. It's been in my shame pile.
Did you buy that here?
It's possible.
Sure.
At Music Millennium?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible. Years ago at this point. But I've always heard it's so good and was really looking forward to, whenever it struck me. But it stars George C. Scott.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And what's my man's name from Deadwood and Child's Play?
Brad Dourif.
And is directed by William Peter Blatty,
yeah,
who wrote the novel The Exorcist that the original Friedkin movie is based on. And I'd always heard this movie was pretty scary. And there are definitely some great scares in this. It's creepy. It's kind of confusing, to be honest. Like, it took me a little while to like understand what the hell this movie was about, because it's like edited very strange, but not in a way that like alienated me. I was like in it from just like a visual audio experience and a George C. Scott being completely like unhinged experience.
Yeah.
He talks to a priest at one point about how he can't go home because his like mother-in-law is keeping a carp in their bathtub, which he believes is like an impure fish. And it's one of the craziest scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Him talking to this priest about the carp in his bathtub. But a pretty well done movie, I thought. Like, good scares, looks great, creepy.
To the point about good scares, I think it has one of the all-time greatest jump scares ever.
Yeah, I had heard that. I knew that going in.
Did you know the scene, though?
No, I didn't.
Did it get you?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. I think that it was one of those things where I built it up too much.
Sure.
And I was actually, it sort of clouded my experience of the whole movie, because I assumed the worst. I was like, it's going to happen out of fucking nowhere and it's going to ruin me. Mm-hmm. And it actually doesn't really happen out of nowhere. It's a successful, I guess, like build up to it, but it is quite frightening.
Yeah. So did you ultimately liked this though? Like,
I did. I
liked
liked it
experience?
I liked it a lot. Yeah. I'm excited to see it again. It's essentially like the devil is inhabiting an inmate in a mental hospital who is manipulating other patients kind of around the hospital, right? And
yeah, okay, yes.
There's a detective trying to solve a murder that happened outside of the hospital.
And it's this, George C. Scott is supposed to be playing the same detective from The First Exorcist.
Correct.
Yes.
We also, last night, had some friends over and we were going to watch the Arrow release of American Gigolo. We've been like planning to watch it with these particular friends. They haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. And I picked up that new release and I'm excited to watch it. But they got over here and we were like, should we be watching something scary? Probably. And everybody was into that. So we ended up playing a game that I used to play with your brother a lot, Sam, especially.
I used to play it at my house all the time.
Yeah. It's called the Pile Game. And if you have friends over and you have physical media, you can play the Pile Game if you so choose. And what it is like...
Guys, it's the most fun game of all time.
It's the most fun game. Basically, like, collectively, or someone can kind of be delegated to make a pile of Blu-rays. I would recommend like 8 to 10 Blu-rays that are in the running for what you're going to watch.
Yeah.
If you're unsure, or if you pivot from American Gigolo, for example, at the last second. And then you have to pass the pile from one person to the next in a circle around the room. And everyone, when they get the pile, is responsible for removing one title.
Yeah.
And eventually someone is given 2 movies at the end and they have to pick it. There is a caveat, I think, the way I've always played it is if there are 2 movies left and you're unsure what to do about it, you really can't make a decision. What we always do is put the 2 movies on the ground and put a single cat treat on each movie. And then the cat, whichever one they eat first, the treat, that's what we choose.
Oh, damn. I've never done the tiebreaker that way.
I recommend it. Last night, Kimberly had the honors of picking between our last 2. What were they?
It was between, The Bride of Frankenstein and Misery.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And we watched the Kino 4K of Misery.
Oh, hence why we posted it on the Instagram today.
Yep.
Rob Reiner's adaptation of Stephen King's novel about a writer who gets injured in an automobile accident and kind of kidnapped by an insane nurse who brings him back to health but holds him captive, does a lot of messed up stuff to him.
But she's his biggest fan.
She's his biggest fan. And it absolutely rules.
I think, you take the Shawshank Redemptions, the Green Miles aside, the Stand By Me's aside. This is, I think, probably the best Stephen King adaptation.
Mm-hmm.
Does The Shining count?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's in the conversation, but they're like
beyond.
It's vast. They're just vastly different things.
It's too different. Yeah.
Like this feels really close to the source material,
yeah.
and done in a way where it was like, we can take this source material, which will be different because it's a book. It's not going to translate completely to screen. And the way that Rob Reiner translated it to screen is phenomenal.
It totally rules. Kathy Bates, Oscar-winning performance.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Shout out to my mom for renting this for my older brother and I, and herself, and all watching it on VHS way back in the day.
Wow.
How old were you?
Yeah.
probably 12. So Ben was like 15.
Yeah, 12 is a good age. It's a good one to show young people, I think. Like, if you're going to show a kid an R-rated horror movie, I would actually say this one's pretty good.
Oh, I disagree. I mean, it's pretty spooky.
It's scary.
Yeah, I mean, it's not spooky. It's just like oddly so realistic.
Well, it's just really primal. And like everything that happens in it that's scary is like, it's not exaggerated, really.
It's utterly relentless, but there are no real jump scares. It's not like, oh, my kid's been having nightmares about, monsters. So we're going to like, to what you just said, Kurt, it is very primal. It's set very much in the real world. And it's just an exercise in pacing and that feeling of sitting on the edge of your seat and going.
It gradually like ramps up the entire time.
And as the viewers, we're like, please get back into the room. Like, get your fucking wheelchair back into that room.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of suspense, which is great.
It's more of a suspense movie than it is like a straight horror movie, but the scenes that are horrific.
Yeah.
There is a really good jump scare. Like everyone in the room last night jumped. It was great.
I'm trying to think what it is.
It involves a lightning strike.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep.
Ooh, it's good. So if people have not seen Misery, Exorcist 3, or Pulp Fiction, for God's sakes.
Now's the time.
We as a show recommend all three of those movies.
There's a very deluxe 30th anniversary 4K of Pulp Fiction coming out this year.
Yeah, I saw that. I was also, in honor of that, I went to a bar right down the street from my house and was playing the Pulp Fiction pinball machine last night, which is
that's cool.
So fucking hard. It's really fun, but oh my God, it's so hard.
This episode is brought to you by Chonk. Chonk is the first nut butter studio dedicated to creating unique products and ingenious solutions to help you nut better. Their first product, the Scoop, is not quite a spoon and not quite a spatula, but designed specifically to help you stir, scrape, and savor any of your favorite nut butters without the mess. Honestly, I've seen this thing in action. The Scoop entirely cleans out any peanut butter jar, almond butter jar, whatever your preference is. That way you can enjoy the entire jar without leaving any of it behind. Right before recording this podcast, I had to clean an almond butter jar in order to get it into the recycling, and it's hard. Soap and water, you gotta dig your fingers in there. It's hard to get every little nook and cranny, even when you're doing that. But with the Chonk Scoop, you don't have that problem. It's a great gift for the holidays, great gift for yourself. And if you head on over to chonk.us and use the order code Physical Therapy, you'll get 20% off your entire order. So go check them out. That's chonk.us. Chonk helps you nut better. Okay, today is all about terror on the road. The open road, Sam.
This was fun.
Once upon a time.
Oh.
Sam and I were 21.
Yeah.
And...
no, you and I were probably 22.
The year was 2010. Samuel and I were living in Chicago, Illinois. We had just graduated college, and we were moving out to sunny California with dreams in our eyes. And we rented a truck to move all our shit. And we got a 22-foot Penske moving truck, which, unbeknownst to us at the time, is basically the size of like a school bus.
It's fucking huge. It's huge.
And we put everything we owned in it.
No. We got the 22-foot truck, and then we were like, we can't drive this up and down mountains. No. We switched out for the 18-footer.
How many Blu-rays do you think you moved from Chicago to LA?
Honestly, not that many. I moved more DVDs without a doubt than I did Blu-rays. Right. You and I had just
gotten into it.
Yeah, you had like kind of, we had both had big DVD collections, and then you had gotten Blu-ray maybe 3-4 months before I did.
When I knew there was a chance that I was going to be able to afford from my salary at the Baby Gap, ladies and gentlemen, an HD TV, I was starting to buy Blu-rays like leading up to it. Like I bought The Dark Knight on Blu-ray like 6 months before I could afford the TV, just because I like needed to know that I owned it.
You know what's so funny is that you were the one to convince me to do this as well. Like I started buying new movies on Blu-ray instead of DVD.
Yeah.
Well, mainly because at that time too, a lot of Blu-rays came with DVDs, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
But you were just kind of future-proofing yourself.
Going down to the Best Buy on Clark Street.
Oh yeah, dude. My mother, you bought a flat screen TV, and my mother,
That's true.
I was in the car with my mom. You had never met, and she came and picked you up, and we threw your flat screen TV in the back of her car and then drove it to your apartment.
Mo.
Shout out to Mo.
Shout out to Mo.
Thank God for Mo.
Truly.
But Sam and I hit the open road and we drove across this great nation of ours in a 16 I think, foot Penske
Yeah, 16.
truck.
You're right.
And I always think of that when I watch movies that take place in long, desolate highways, because that was sort of my first experience on a trip like that.
There's something so kind of like primal and fun about a road movie. Just being on the road with a friend is something that pretty much everybody knows. They know that feeling. You've been in the car for a long time. You're getting a little slap happy. And then something crazy happens out of nowhere. And I just love the setup. It's like a good high school movie. Like people know that feeling. It's such a universal feeling that when stuff starts to go wrong, we can all put ourselves in that position and go, oh my God, what would we be doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
How would I feel about this?
It has the kind of in space, no one can hear you scream, like idea of like you're out in the middle of nowhere. You don't know anyone around you. You can't really trust anyone, if there's even anyone around, you know?
Yeah.
I also think it's like a very American idea. Like,
Oh, totally.
the car, the highways, like for whatever reason, it just seems like an American trope, I guess.
So many of them are like younger, late teens, early 20s. I'm going out for the first time and I'm like, there's no rules. I just got to get the car from point A to point B. And then shit usually goes wrong.
So did you watch a couple other ones for this episode?
Yeah, I watched The Hitcher. I watched another one from my shame pile. And then I have like a bunch of honorable mentions or just like fun titles that we can talk about.
Just from your collection?
Yeah, and just that are in the genre itself.
Yeah. Let's start with that.
Cool.
And I'll go first and just get it out of the way because my all-time favorite one of these is Joyride, which I've talked about on this show before.
And you did on Too Scary Didn't Watch, correct?
That's right. I talked about it on that podcast. That is, of course, a 2001 thriller starring Paul Walker, Steve Zahn, and Lily Sobieski. And they are being hunted and tormented by a truck driver who they have played a prank on using a CB radio. And he is terrorizing them. And it's just a really tight, solid action thriller. That's pretty scary.
That's great. I mean, it's the perfect time too. It's pretty much all practical, if not completely practical. It's just,
I would say so.
I think I've talked about this on the show as well, but I'm 99% sure I did a double feature of Joyride and Don't Say a Word.
Oh yeah, I think we talked about that on here. They came out like on the same day or 1 week apart at least.
So fucking killer double feature right there. I mean, there's some others like, I've talked about Christine on the show before, which is not necessarily like a road trip movie, but it's like a car, road horror movie.
Maybe we saved that one.
Okay. Well, we just brought him up, but Quentin Tarantino, he made Death Proof, which is definitely like a...
Oh yeah, that's a great call.
Kind of car horror thriller.
I mean, Death Proof, I'm sure most people have seen, but if not, like Death Proof is about a stunt man played by Kurt Russell who drives a old muscle car that has been reinforced to withstand stunt driving on film sets. So this thing's like virtually indestructible. And his seat in this car is equally sort of reinforced. So he's not really in danger himself if he's flipping the car over and rolling it, but his passengers are. And he's essentially the villain of this movie. And there is a unbelievably harrowing scene in which he brings a victim into his car. And I think Death Proof has some of Tarantino's like coolest shit in it.
It's great.
I don't think that movie as a whole necessarily works super well for me, but like you talk about some of his best directed scenes, like the last car chase, which goes on for like 35 minutes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is next level.
What else?
You just brought up 2001 Joyride, 2001 Jeepers Creepers. A brother and a sister are driving home after spring break or for spring break, and they like encounter this crazy flesh-eating creature that sleeps for like X amount of years and then wakes up and has to feed. That's a really fun one.
Is there a good Blu-ray of that?
I have one from Shout Factory that is good.
Nice.
How dare we not bring up 1997's Breakdown again?
Yeah.
One of the all-time great car movies.
You know who's in Misery is our man. What's the bad guy's name?
JT Walsh?
JT Walsh. He plays a police officer. Like in one shot, there's like this great crane shot that like comes down, revealing his kind of like Mountie hat. Like, and he's giving this huge speech to all these press about like the status of James Caan being missing.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think it's his only scene, but he's just like giving a monologue.
Yeah.
But he, of course, returned to Reiner in A Few Good Men.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that's a perfect one. Breakdown's perfect.
I almost just threw it on just for fun again the other day.
Are you getting that 4K? Did you order it?
Yes, I am gonna upgrade. I've been trying really my best to not upgrade a bunch of titles this year and just get new stuff.
What's that like?
It's going fine. Sometimes I'm really good at it and sometimes I'm terrible at it. But that is definitely one that I would like to get.
I ordered the Paramount Scares Collection Volume 2.
Oh, that has it in there. Yeah, that's awesome.
There were some sales on those two box sets. That one is like Breakdown, World War Z, Friday the 13th, Part 2, and then...
An Orphan First Kill.
Yeah, well, talk to me. Orphan First Kill will be like a shame pile edition of this episode in 30 years.
Yeah, when you finally make it to it.
Yeah.
I think I wished for Near Dark at one point, which I would consider like a Western vampire road movie.
Yep, for sure.
Oh, that's what I was thinking about last week.
Catherine Bigelow.
It's so good.
Yeah. Oh, I love Near Dark.
Lance Henriksen, Jenny Wright, Bill Paxton. You could consider The Hills Have Eyes a road movie. I would love to throw out some love to, I don't know if it really qualifies, but you could say Wrong Turn from 2003.
Is that good?
I think Wrong Turn actively rules. The biggest issue with it is when it was made. They were shooting on like not great digital cameras at the time.
Okay. Is it Eliza Dushku?
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's some color correction on that, which I don't love. But other than the look of the movie, I think that movie is actually really good.
You got more? I got a few.
I mean, I think we should just throw out, because it's Spielberg, but Duel, one of his first movies from 1971.
Yeah, for sure. That was going to be one of mine. There's a great 4K of Duel.
Is there really? Okay,
Yeah.
because I've only ever seen it once in theaters, which was excellent, but I would like to revisit it.
Yeah, I picked up the 4K earlier this year. It's Universal? Is it just a Universal standard? Let me look. Yes, they put out a 4K almost exactly a year ago, and it looks great. And this is Spielberg's first film made for television, but of course shot on film, and is a great looking 4K, and just a solid like guy getting terrorized by a truck driver movie. Very kind of prototypical Joyride.
The last two I want to throw out. One is kind of a question. I pulled a bunch of titles off my shelf, and then I pulled up a couple lists of like best road horror thriller movies. And they have one on here on an IMDb list that I want to bring up so we can chat about it. And that is 2007's Vacancy.
Oh,
Did you
my
order
God.
Vacancy?
Dude, I got a copy of Vacancy.
Did you watch it?
No, I got a 2-pack of Vacancy and Identity sitting here right now.
Damn.
You just let me know.
Did you get it on eBay or Amazon?
No, that was Amazon. It was like $12.
Sam's been trying for a while.
The problem is you know Vacancy is going to come out on Kino. I promise. It's happening.
Dude, so I'm sitting here looking at that. Do you know who directed Vacancy? Our best friend, Nimrod Antle, who also directed Predators.
Oh, shit.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Damn, is Vacancy tight?
I guess his Vacancy is incredible.
I think we should do Vacancy for our 100th episode.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Oh, here's what we should do. We'll do Vacancy for our 100th episode. We'll meet in the middle of LA and Portland in like a shitty motel and watch
Yes.
Vacancy and record this.
Yes.
Wow.
But we have to wait for it to rain.
I will not be staying there.
I don't know if I'm considering that a road movie, mainly because in my memory of it,
I don't know anything about it. Don't spoil this. Don't spoil
I'm
this.
not going to, but I was just going to say in my memory of it, 90% of it takes place in a motel.
Well, I feel like motel horror is a whole other genre.
Yes, I think you're right.
But I don't know that they can be interchangeable too. Because Joyride's kind of both.
Yeah, Joyride has some great scenes in a motel. And the last one I want to bring up is a 1975 movie starring Peter Fonda and Warren Oates called Race with the Devil.
Oh, shit.
This is the only known physical version is a 2-pack with Dirty Larry.
Crazy Mary, Dirty Larry.
From Shout Factory.
Yeah.
Race with the Devil is, I've actually been lucky enough to catch a 35 millimeter print of this movie at an all-night horror marathon at the Hollywood a couple years ago. And this movie blew me away. It's basically two vacationing couples are like on vacation in an RV, and they're also doing some like motorcycle traveling and filming it that's their profession of some kind. And they start getting terrorized by like a cult after they witness some stuff that they shouldn't have seen. Great practical effects, really crazy stuff starts happening. And it's one of those great movies that 25 minutes in, when we see the cult stuff, basically your foot gets put on the gas pedal and we are off to the races at this point. It never slows down after that.
I have this 2-pack, and I am so
really?
pissed off that I didn't think to watch it for this, because I don't.
Dang.
I always forget that that's the other half of it. I got it for Crazy Mary, Dirty Larry, or Dirty Mary, Crazy Larry, whatever it's called.
I've never seen that.
It's awesome. I've seen it.
Okay.
Just like really cool car shit,
Yeah.
but not a horror movie at all. So it didn't, come on my radar again, but I will be watching this.
Race with the Devil is just one of those awesome movies that I don't think you could say it's like a pure horror movie, but there is just really awesome stunt work and cool camera work. And then there are some really, really creepy, unsettling scenes like splashed in throughout.
Yeah, dope. That sounds awesome.
Are there any that you want to bring up that we haven't talked through yet?
Yeah, I have two.
Ooh, yeah. What you got?
And I think they're both like very scary.
Ooh, hell yeah.
The first one I'll shout out is, it's not the whole movie, but there is like Kim, you can chime in with how long it is. In my head, it's a half an hour of this movie. There's a sequence in Nocturnal Animals.
Oh my God, yeah.
Where a family is driving through West Texas.
Yeah.
Similar area as the Hitcher actually takes place in.
This is the Tom Ford movie.
Yeah, Tom Ford directed it.
Yeah.
And it stars Amy Adams, Jake Gyllenhaal,
Michael Shannon,
Aaron Taylor Johnson. This family is driving through West Texas and are terrorized in the middle of the night by some men in a car. And it's like...
Yeah, really upsetting.
It's so drawn out that it is like, it gets under your skin. It's really amazing.
It's very good.
I definitely saw this movie like when it first, I remember renting it and watching it at one of my old apartments.
Mm-hmm.
But is this movie good? I can't remember at all.
I love this movie.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we watched it together, Kim and I, like
incredible.
Last year maybe, and we were like, you've always been a fan.
Yeah, I've seen it many times.
Yeah, you brought it up, and I picked up the Blu-ray because of that and rewatched it, and was like pretty stunned. It's just such a great script.
It really is. And performances, I think, are absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I would like to revisit it.
It's great. It's very stylish. It's very singular, in my opinion.
The other one I'll mention is a 1988, I believe, Danish movie that translates to...
Ooh, yep.
I was hoping you're going to bring this up, yeah.
The title translates to The Vanishing.
It's not Danish. It's Swedish, I believe. Hold on. No, it's Dutch. Yeah, it's a Dutch film.
Dutch.
Kurt, you let me borrow this. You let me borrow your copy of this movie very early on in our friendship.
Like a DVD?
Yep.
Yeah. It was one of the first Criterion movies I ever saw. I remember renting it from Blockbuster's like Netflix by mail equivalent.
I'm still surprised they had it, honestly.
Yeah, they had great stuff. They had a lot of Criterions. I remember seeing like Eyes Without a Face like that, and De Palma's Sisters. I think those were like the first three Criterions I ever saw. But The Vanishing is about a couple who are on a road trip. I think they're like newlyweds or they're engaged, and the wife-to-be goes missing. And it soon becomes clear that she has been kidnapped, and that kidnapper puts forth a choice to the boyfriend that he can either never know what happened to his fiancée, his girlfriend, or he can learn what happened, but he has to go through the exact same experience to find out.
What? Oh my God.
It's so good. And
like one of the most
terrifying.
upsetting things ever.
It's...
There's a pretty god-awful American remake starring Sandra Bullock and
Just like a comedy show.
And Kiefer, right?
Kiefer Sutherland and like
Yeah.
Isn't Alec Baldwin in it too?
no, in like
Wait, who plays?
God bless him, but like in the absolute worst performance ever, Jeff Bridges.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Is plays the guy. Yeah,
And it's like insane
So
that Jeff
crazy.
Bridges
Yeah,
and Kiefer Sutherland like didn't swap roles because it might have been okay, but
Oh, Jeff Bridges is the guy and Kiefer's the boyfriend.
he's the bad guy and he's like
yeah, it's
really
so
socially
insane.
awkward and it's
The
very,
trailer
very
is
bad.
so funny.
Well, I'll watch that when we wrap up here.
It's really insane. It looks like a fake film.
But the original Vanishing, Spoorloos is the Dutch title. Criterion Blu-ray, there's a great one. Highly recommend that if people have not seen it.
Okay.
One of the greatest endings ever.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Similar to Prisoners a little bit.
Yeah, it's ballsier than that though.
Sure. I think the endings in particular are fairly similar.
Yeah.
Great call, though. Great call. It's been a minute since I've seen that movie or thought about it.
I think I always think about that movie.
Yeah. I thought about the other day. We were on our way to the wedding that we saw you at, Sam, and we were picking up a suit for me that I had dry cleaned. And we were sitting in the parking lot. We had pulled in. Kim was driving, and she was going to run in and get it. And like right when she got out of the car, this woman came up and was like, "Oh, I can't get this thing." What was it? Like she was trying to get something in her car.
She was trying to find her cell phone. It had fallen.
She was like, "Do you have a phone you can call my phone from?" And we were like, "Sure." And she was like, "My car's just like right over here." And so she had dropped it in the bowels of the car and needed someone to call it so she could hear it ringing. And so Kim like went with her, but like her car was like just around a corner where like I couldn't see it anymore. And like they turned the corner and then they were just gone. And I was like, wait a minute.
Hell
Is this a bad
fucking no,
idea?
dude. Yeah.
Is this a bad idea?
But it turned out that it was a completely just, she was fine. She was a completely just normal lady who needed help, but she was completely innocent and sweet. So it's fine.
I was like, this is like The Vanishing. Wait, Kim.
Yeah.
I
But
reappeared.
everyone's fine. The Hitcher.
Dude.
Second Sight.
Yeah.
Just released The Hitcher on 4K. This is a 1986 movie directed by Robert Harmon, who I looked up, and most of his recent credits are Tom Selleck vehicles.
I was just going to say the mustache.
Yeah.
The mustache himself.
Yeah. He's done a ton of, what's it called? John Stone? Or
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now because I was looking this up last night after I watched it and I was like,
yeah.
oh, wow, he just directed 100.
Lot of Selleck movies, a lot of Blue Bloods, the Selleck TV show.
Jesse Stone.
Jesse Stone, thank you. This is a movie that stars C. Thomas Howell, who is a name I recognized immediately, and I think from The Outsiders.
He plays Ponyboy.
His character in this movie is driving a car from Chicago to California. He's moving to California from Chicago, basically like delivering a car is his way of getting there. And along the way, very early on in the movie, in the first few minutes, picks up a hitchhiker in the rain. And that hitchhiker is played by Rutger Hauer, who people will know from Blade Runner. And Rutger Hauer's character is very insane and violent and dangerous. And this movie is about his endless pursuit to frame and terrorize this young man played by C. Thomas Howell, who is trying to get away from him in the middle of nowhere in West Texas. Had you seen this, Sam?
You know, I had, but not in, I cannot tell you how long. Probably 7 years ago, I watched some of it in a motel, actually, but fell asleep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And didn't finish it. But I had seen it one other time before that, but like when I was way younger. Had you seen it?
I had not seen this. And part of the reason is it's been sort of difficult to find.
Yeah.
Was there a Blu-ray? There was a Blu-ray. Or no, maybe there wasn't a Blu-ray.
I think it was one of those early studio releases that went out of print and was just impossible to find after that.
I actually don't know if that's true. What I read was that there was a release of it transferred off of like a German film print of it.
Oh,
that was like really bad quality. Because this was like an HBO movie that was theatrically distributed by, I think, TriStar in the 80s. But it, I think, was pretty hard to find this movie, like in a physical format beyond DVD or whatever.
I know that when the pre-order finally went up for this Second Sight release, it was like a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, like we both ordered it, so that's one reason why we're doing it on the show. But the other reason is that this was a really big, sought-after movie that had kind of been existing in like release hell.
Yeah. I know that Second Sight basically discovered the original camera negative, which was at Warner Brothers, essentially, because they, inherited the HBO catalog. So Second Sight is a British boutique label. They just put out this 4K, like this incredible giant box set.
Yeah, you want to talk about big box? Oh my God.
It is definitely the biggest box on my shelf for a single title. Actually, Drive is bigger.
Don't you have the Dawn of the Dead, right?
Yes, I've Dawn of the Dead, Drive. I think that's it for Second Sight, for the big ones. And so this box set includes the screenplay. It includes like a 200-page hardcover book that's filled with exclusive interviews and essays, photos and things like that. It comes with like art cards. It's just gorgeous. Everything is like original, the designs, the covers and things like that. It's all very like cohesive, the look of all those pieces I mentioned. However, that is a import. There's like a standard version and this big box version. There's a 4K inside of it and like a Region B Blu-ray, but Warner Brothers is putting this out on 4K next week.
Yeah.
October 22nd. So there is a domestic version as well, which I assume is the same transfer.
Yeah, I doubt they went back and did another one.
Yeah. And it's like supervised by Robert Harmon and looks amazing. I thought this was fucking awesome.
Yeah. And let's highlight that the work that Second Sight did on this transfer is phenomenal. It looks incredible. It sounds great. They really knocked it out of the park. This movie is like balls to the wall nuts. It starts and about 10 minutes later, it is like absolutely going and shows no signs of stopping. If anything, I think it suffers from almost too little of character development.
Whose character? Rutger Hauer's or C. Thomas Howell?
I think both of them, really. I mean, it's like you don't really need to know what C. Thomas Howell is doing or what he wants, and you don't really need to know like what Rutger Hauer basically says it in the first 5 minutes we meet him. He says, "I want you to stop me." And that's pretty much all of the character development we get and what we need. I mean, he's just like, he's a psychopath. And, I think it really plays on all the fears people were having in the mid 80s of hitchhiking. The hippie movement had kind of ended. We're in giant consumerism. And you just hear all these stories of like, you don't pick up hitchhikers. And this movie is all of your worst fears about what could happen with a hitchhiker rolled into one.
Yeah. I mean, I'll get to it immediately here because it's the thing that kind of personally struck me the most. I knew that this was one of Christopher Nolan's favorite movies.
Oh, okay. Funny.
The Dark Knight comparisons to this movie that Dark Knight has always been my favorite movie. I'm obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. Maybe we'll do an episode on it someday for my birthday. But the comparisons to The Dark Knight are insane to me in this movie. That for being a movie I'd never seen, I was like, oh my God. Rutger Hauer is the Joker.
Yeah.
Like it's a very similar, like no backstory. He's just like this relentless force that is just showing up every once in a while and causing utter chaos. There's this scene where he is like in prison briefly and it's literally like frame by frame, the Joker getting arrested, of them being like, he's got no name, he's got no ID. Came literally out loud while that was happening, was like, nothing in his pockets but knives and lint.
Yeah. I mean, even the way that he's framed on that prison bus is very similar to the way that the Joker's framed in the bank robbery of The Dark Knight.
Oh, yeah. There's so many similarities. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And set pieces. I mean, like helicopter crashes and shit. It's just like, dude.
Oh my God, the action's insane.
The action's crazy. There's so much. This movie is disturbing and suspenseful and has very frightening moments, but it is like a action thriller.
Yes.
Like there is like car flips, car explosions.
The practical set pieces in this movie truly like put it in a different ballpark than anything else. It's crazy. I mean, I was watching it last night and just thinking about how practical the entire movie looks and feels. There are incredible sweeping landscape shots of this like West Texas kind of wasteland. And like when a gas station catches on fire and then blows up and a car is driving away from that gas station on fire, it's really a car on fire and really a set blowing up. I mean, there's just something so tangible and real in that just, it gives the movie an authority or like a a sense of urgency that I feel like is kind of lacking in some of today's movies. I was really blown away with how crazy some of the stunts and practical nature of the movie.
Yeah. It just narratively goes places that shocked me.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah.
And it had a hard time getting made because of some of the places it goes. But it isn't, I don't think, like sadistic or the film itself, like, or like overly graphic.
There's almost no gore in it.
Yeah. It's just disturbing.
And brutal. It's just sort of...
It's insanely brutal, but you don't really see it in the way you see like the brutality in a Friday the 13th movie.
No, exactly. It's so different.
And it wasn't really a big hit, and I'm surprised.
Well, I think it was ahead of its time.
Roger Ebert gave this movie 0 stars.
Get out of here. I'm like, you know what?
And a lot of it was, I think they compared it to Duel, and they were like, this is like a shitty version of that.
But it isn't the same thing. Like, that's my point.
They're
is that
very
it's
different.
like, he was a great critic, but he also was so wrong about so much shit. And like, you need to be able to look at The Hitcher and go like, this isn't trying. We did a creature feature episode a couple episodes back, and it's like the same way that like Crawl isn't trying to be Citizen Kane. The Hitcher isn't trying to be Citizen Kane, and it's not trying to be Duel either. It's telling different story and showing us a different thing than that.
Yeah,
and they shouldn't necessarily be compared.
Fair enough.
And also, The Hitcher fucking rules.
The Hitcher, it's so good. I'm
so happy you liked it as much as you did.
Oh yeah, it was delightful. It was like, this is why we're out here throwing $50 at an import title we've never seen, rolling the dice, because sometimes it hits.
Yeah, it really, and I was excited to watch it again as an adult and in a complete setting, and I really didn't think I was gonna like enjoy it as much as I did. And it was also one of those things where I was like, this is kind of a blind buy. I know that I've seen it. If I'm spending $50 on it, I'm sure I can resell it if I really don't like it for close to the same value.
Mm-hmm.
And
still available.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was sold out.
Diabolic has it.
Great. I think Kurt and I both highly recommend this release in particular.
Not only is it a movie that is like in the running of my favorite kind of discovery of this year, but it is without a doubt the best physical presentation of a movie that I have bought in a while. There are a lot of special features on it. There's a couple commentaries. Pretty much everyone in some way or another, like all the key players seem to be represented in the commentary tracks.
My boy C. Thomas Howell's on there.
He is. I don't know about Jennifer Jason Leigh. That's the only one I'm not sure if she's on there or not. But there's like scene-specific commentary, I think, with
cool.
a lot of the cast.
Are you aware that C. Thomas Howell is the actor in the first Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie who's like a construction worker who like lines up a bunch of cranes so Spider-Man can like web sling?
No.
Oh my God. I wasn't either. And then it was on at work the other day and I looked up and I was like, oh shit, what's C. Thomas Howell doing in this movie? Fuck that movie.
The way in which Rutger Hauer as like the villain in this movie continues to pop up like here and there, like every time, it's so good.
Yeah.
Like they do such a good job of you not expecting it. I would say pretty much every time. Like it's really just delightful the way that he's revealed.
The way that the movie moves and the way the script moves is that there are plenty of times where Rutger Hauer puts him in a situation where now C. Thomas Howell's character is dealing with the cops, and
yeah,
you almost forget that Rutger Hauer is in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then 25 minutes later, he's just there all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like the drama without him that he's causing is so compelling that you forget about him.
And much like when we talked about Breakdown on the show, it's almost frustrating to watch The Hitcher because you're sitting there as the viewer and you know that C. Thomas Howell's like just a good kid who is in this awful situation and he keeps getting blamed for all this stuff. And you're like, but it's not his fault. It's not him. There's this other guy there. And he's never there when you need him to be.
It's a trope of this genre. Like that happens in Joyride. And we sort of brushed over the ones we watched for this episode. So I guess we could sort of get into that. But it also happens in one of the ones I watched that I think maybe you watched called Road Games.
Dude. Let's fucking talk about Road Games.
If you tell me that you like Road Games better than The Hitcher, I'm going to fuck you up, Brian.
No.
Really?
No. I don't like Road Games more than I like The Hitcher.
Okay.
But I had a fucking awesome time watching Road Games.
Wow. Okay.
Did you not like Road Games?
I thought Road Games was okay.
Okay.
I thought it was okay. I thought tonally it was a little too light.
Yeah, and it is. It's like, so this is a 1981 Australian exploitation picture, ultimately, starring Stacey Keach and Jamie Lee Curtis, and directed by Richard Franklin, which based off the success of this movie, he got Psycho 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I actually really liked Road Games. I had tried to watch it years before and turned it off. I just wasn't in the mood for it then. And I had a really good time watching it yesterday.
Okay.
It was fun to do these back to back.
Yeah.
That was my double feature of yesterday, Road Games and The Hitcher. And I think The Hitcher is ultimately a tighter, more fun movie to watch. But I really got a kick out of Stacey Keach in this movie.
This is a movie about truck driver driving through Australia.
Australian outback.
Yeah, the outback. He's essentially like bringing a bunch of meat to Perth, and he is suspicious of a van and its driver that he kind of keeps coming across along his travels, that they are kidnapping and killing hitchhikers. And Jamie Lee Curtis plays a hitchhiker that Stacey Keach, as a truck driver, eventually picks up. And together, the two of them sort of try to solve whether or not this guy is killing people. It's kind of Rear Window-y.
Yeah, I was just going to say very Hitchcockian.
Yeah, very Hitchcockian. It's fun. It's good. I mean, I didn't dislike it by any means.
How did you know that I also watched this one?
I think because it's something we have acknowledged both having in our shame piles of movies that we haven't watched yet. And it was an obvious one for me to pick, so I assumed the same for you.
I want to point out, though, I did some, after I finished watching Road Games yesterday during the day, I did a little bit of research and I wanted to look at Jamie Lee Curtis's early career, because I knew this was 81. So I'm like, okay, so it's right after The Fog, basically. But where
she also plays a hitchhiker.
There are so many similarities, really. But her first couple movies that are not, if you take out all the TV series work that she did, her first movie is 78's Halloween. Her second movie is 1980's The Fog. Mm-hmm. The same year, she's also in Prom Night and Terror Train. And then 1981, she's in Road Games. So her first 5 movies are all horror movies. And I know that we've always called her a scream queen, but really, like, that's a big deal. And then she's apparently an uncredited voice in Escape from New York. And then the next movie she's in is Halloween 2.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most of the time, if people hit to the degree that she did with Halloween, a lot of actors, I feel like, generally are trying to pivot, you know?
Yeah. And I thought she was really good in this, honestly.
Oh yeah, love her. She is the scream queen. I also, Sam, watched Christine.
Oh, fun.
Which you talked about on this show a few episodes back. This is John Carpenter's adaptation of Stephen King's novel about a killer car.
Before you tell me how you feel about it in any way, had you seen it?
No.
Ever?
Nope. I only really knew about it based on what you'd said.
Okay. So what was what's your opinion? This is John Carpenter in the height of being unstoppable.
I picked up the Sony 4K of it, which looks so good.
I believe you bought it while we were on mic.
I did. Yes, that's true. Yeah, like every other Sony 4K, it looks amazing. And I thought it was fun. Mm-hmm. I think that there are some really, really fun sequences in it. I think that, like, overall, it didn't blow my mind. I didn't really like the main character all that much.
Archie.
But the special effects are so great. And there is very similar to The Hitcher. There's a scene where a car destroys a gas station and emerges from this very practical set that it's exploding, for real, on fire. And I will say that the sequence in Christine is even better than the one in The Hitcher, because this car is just like fully torched, driving high speed down a highway, like chasing someone.
It's so good.
It's so good. It's the best part for sure. But there's really cool practical shit where, like, the car is regenerating itself, like, after being totaled. They use a lot of, like, really amazing reverse photography.
Truly incredible. Like, truly incredible stuff.
Yeah, that blew my mind. It looked amazing.
Whereas a lot of his movies up until that point, you can take fairly seriously, maybe not as much The Fog, because it kind of plays out like a Scooby-Doo episode, but the Christine is really kind of like, it's silly ultimately. Like you have to take it with like
Yeah, for sure.
a big grain of salt. But if you can kind of get yourself in that headspace, I think it's a very fun watch.
It takes place like in the 50s, right? Like, and it's, I think, best approached like a movie from the 50s. Like as an audience member, like you're trying to kind of like get into that headspace and let it be a little cheesy.
I mean, Stephen King, even to this day, like he writes like everybody is still a fucking teenager in the 50s. And like part of it is very charming. And other times you're like, no one has spoken like this in 60 years, you know?
Kim, what did you think of The Hitcher? We watched it together.
Well, is there a more beautiful man than Rutger Hauer?
Wow,
maybe Paul Newman.
really?
I think like
He's beautiful.
I think he's like a god. He looks incredible.
I mean, I'll give you like I can see it in Blade Runner, but in this, he's like,
Yeah, but he's just like covered in mud and he's still like gorgeous. And I'm like,
I love it.
yeah, but maybe that's just my type.
Clearly, for the listeners, I look exactly like Rutger Hauer.
I really didn't know what to expect. I really thought the tone would be completely different and a little silly. And this was relentless and it was pretty jaw-dropping at moments because it goes so hard and it's not a typical 80s movie. I love Jennifer Jason Leigh. She's one of my favorite actresses and it was just a joy to see her doing her thing.
Truly. Like I totally forgot she was in this and she's awesome.
She adds so much.
She's very believable as kind of a, middle of the country gal who just works at this roadside diner.
Yeah, I just kind of like, it was kind of a shock to see this and come out of it being like, wow, that informed so many of my recent favorite movies of, in the last 20 years. Like,
sure.
There's a lot there that people took. But yeah, I love Rutger Hauer. And he's scary in this. He's like
terrifying in this. I made a comment about it earlier, how there's not much character development in it. And I stand by that. But also at the same time, it's kind of amazing how
you don't really need it.
No. And they never really make you believe that he's going to be like normal or nice or good in any way.
I also just think it's like, it's not necessarily a literal experience. It's like there's something nightmarish about it and like illogical about his presence.
Absolutely.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, he like there's no way he could know where he is. No. Like it's pretty crazy that he keeps showing up.
He's not a person, He's
an enigma.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of dream logic in it. It's not a giallo movie or feels Italian in any way other than that.
Mm-hmm. But similar, again, to the Joker.
Yes.
Like the way that Nolan did the Joker. It was just like no backstory, didn't matter. He just pops up and away you go. And he shows up occasionally.
He's a manifestation of sorts, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just kind of fun to see a villain like that.
So yeah, highly recommend The Hitcher. I, in fact, can't recommend it enough. I think if you're into thrillers and road movies, like this is top of the game.
Yeah, it's great.
Except maybe for C. Thomas Howell, honestly. He kind of bothered me.
Oh, what?
He's overdoing it a little bit. You don't think?
Yeah.
I but it's like, I don't know. I have a weird draw to C. Thomas Howell for some reason.
What's it come from?
I think The Outsiders, because I saw that young and I loved the book when I was young.
Okay.
And I remember renting a couple years ago, somebody put out The Outsiders, like it's called like the complete novel edition. And it's basically like Francis Ford Coppola's director's cut of The Outsiders.
Yes.
And I watched that and the original Red Dawn in the same week. And C. Thomas Howell is the main character of both of those movies.
Okay.
And I was like, yo, what's up with C. Thomas Howell? This guy knows what's good, man.
Uh-oh. You fell in love.
I mean, but it's also one of those things. It's like he kind of disappeared after a while. I mean, I feel like the Hitcher is maybe one of his last bigger things.
Mm-hmm.
And even this, we're talking about it, it's like this movie didn't do great and was kind of lost for a long time.
And now it's found thanks to Second Sight.
Yeah. Would you put this, like, if you had to write this second, do you think this would be in one of your top 5 for the year in terms of releases?
It's my top for the year right now.
Wow,
like,
that's so cool.
Down.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
I'm so happy we decided to do it on this, just with the kind of road horror in general.
Totally. Okay, before we go, it's time to put wishes out into the physical media universe for titles on formats that they don't yet exist on. Here we go, Sam. I wish for David Fincher's The Game on 4K Criterion.
I wish for Danny Boyle's Sunshine on 4K, hopefully from Arrow.
Damn, Sunshine, good call. Good call.
Yeah, man, I had to trade a friend because he bought a Region B locked Blu-ray of Sunshine. And so I traded him my Region A copy. I was happy to do it, happy to help a homie out, but I am ready for a 4K of that movie.
Hell yeah, that'd be so great. Except it's Fox, which means it'll never happen probably because Disney.
Oh, you think so? I was hoping that with the coming release of 28 years later, we might get a 4K of Sunshine.
Is anybody putting Fox out? Who's putting Fox out besides Fox?
I don't really know, but Fox is now owned by Disney.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I guess Fox, yeah, because Alien's coming out and Aliens just came out. Or excuse me, Alien Romulus is coming out. Alien has been out.
Hopefully, that'd be awesome. Sunshine is so good. It's about a team of astronauts trying to reignite a dying sun with a nuclear bomb.
They're trying to drop a nuke in the sun.
Cillian Murphy,
Chris Evans, Michelle Yeoh.
It's great. I want to watch it again. I haven't seen it since
awesome.
I don't know. I was like
incredible soundtrack.
14.
Incredible soundtrack.
Yeah.
One of the first Blu-rays I bought, Sunshine. I chose David Fincher's The Game, starring Michael Douglas.
This isn't out on 4K yet, huh?
Not on 4K, no. There's very few Fincher on 4K for some reason. This is a movie about a very rich, vacant man played by Michael Douglas who is given a birthday gift called The Game, which is an experience, like a real life.
It's like a never-ending escape room.
Yeah, good way to put it.
Yeah.
And he becomes involved in a kind of web of terror, really, and has no idea kind of where the game starts and stops and what is a threat and what is not. And it's just a really cool movie from the 90s. I would say like underrated at this point, kind of not talked about enough.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the more forgotten Fincher titles.
Definitely.
It's one that comes up in conversation way less than the others.
Yeah, I think it's right before Fight Club,
Yes,
after
you're right,
7.
yeah.
And Criterion put out a great Blu-ray of it several years back. But
yeah, I would like to. I don't own that Blu-ray, so it's like, put out the 4K already and let me scoop.
It's a great birthday movie. Watch it on your birthday if you've never seen it. Okay, that's it for our episode. Thank you all very much for listening. Thank you to Patrick Laban for our wonderful music. Kimberly, thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Kim.
Au revoir.
Au revoir, Kim. Au revoir. Samuel, we're going to be back next week. We're going to be talking
Undead
movies.
What does that mean to you? What does it mean to us?
We're going to be looking through our collections, our unwatched titles, and picking some undead movies to check out and hopefully recommend.
I'm excited to talk about these. I have a very specific piece of that pie in mind.
So we'll see you next week. Pick up The Hitcher if you've never seen it. My God.